Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Jerred Moon. The Garage Gym Athlete Podcast is a result of my desire to build better humans, unequivocal coaches, and autonomous athletes. I've spent the last several years obsessing over program design, nutrition, and every other way you can optimize human performance. This podcast distills the latest scientific research with what I've learned and blends it with the not-so-scientific field of mental toughness. We are here to build you into a dangerously effective athlete. If you enjoy this podcast, you can find out more about our training at garagegymathlete.com. And if you want to pursue more into the field of coaching and programming, head to endof3fitness.com. Thanks for listening. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Jerred Moon here with Joe Courtney and Scott Suttles. Gentlemen, how's it going?
Good morning. How is everyone?
Doing well, man. We were talking before we started recording. You've been around for a long time. I was like, Joe, we had to have had Scott on before. Like, what did we talk about last interview? And Joe's like, no, yeah, it hasn't been on. So I just couldn't believe it because you have been around. I'm really familiar with you. And so, hey, let's just get into it and get the rest of the community involved. So give us the basic intro, man. You know, what you do, how, who you are, where you train, where you're from, all that good stuff.
So my name is Scott Suttles. I'm an acute care nurse practitioner. I live in Southeast Kentucky. I work at a trauma center. We provide surgical critical care. There's 4 nurse practitioners. We cover the service 24/7. So I do 24-hour shifts. And when I'm not doing that, I'm completing my doctorate in nursing. I'm also in the Army Reserve in a field hospital in Columbus, Ohio. We were talking about before, hobbies. We rescue dogs. We have I have 3 dogs out in the garage that usually, if it's a box jump day, they're up on top of that, or if there's a bench day, they're on top of it. So it's hard for me to kind of squeeze my training in the 1 hour mark because I have to contend with other people on the equipment. Get a garage gym, they said. You won't have to wait on equipment. I have to wait on my dogs to get off the equipment.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what is the garage gym setup like?
So if it wasn't for them, I would have done this out there, but they would have been all over me. I started out, we had some friends that kind of jumped on board with the CrossFit craze when it came through. There was a local gym that started up, and my wife and 2 friends of hers from high school, we all started going. My wife took a different job within the hospital. Her schedule really didn't allow for her to go to CrossFit any longer. And at the same time, this couple were moving to Lexington. So he had some stuff in his garage, and he's like, hey, I'm moving. Do you want to buy this stuff? And at the time it was like a bench, an adjustable bench with some kind of a squat rack with a lat pull down and maybe 250 pounds of iron plates. I was like, yeah, sure. So since then, probably around the same time, I found your DIY for a box. So that's kind of how I found you, because I was looking at different workouts on YouTube and following this influencer or that influencer, and I was like, oh, I need to build a box. So I found yours, and that's kind of how I stumbled onto Endo3 Garage Gym Athlete. Since then, I have just slowly replaced the equipment. I have I think it's a Titan T3 squat rack, an adjustable bench, a flat bench, all Rogue plates, a couple of Rogue barbells. I built a pull-up bar. I have a sled. I found an Airdyne on Facebook Marketplace for $100. Shortly after I bought it, the computer screen messed up, so I retrofitted it with an actual assault bike monitor.
Oh, nice.
I found a Concept 2 rower for $150. Same
Dang.
story. Yeah.
Wow.
This was years ago. This was probably, whatever I came around 2017, 18 in that time frame. Shortly after that.
Before garage gyms were cool.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and that's what the guy said. He had it on Facebook Marketplace, and when I picked it up, he said, I did CrossFit. My gym was getting new rowers, so they sold me this one. And I was like, oh, I'm going to row all the time in the garage. And he said, I never did. So my wife was cleaning the garage out and said, this thing has to go. So I stumbled onto it for $150.
That's awesome.
I have a treadmill for colder weather, or when I get up at 4:30 and I don't want to go run up and down the road at 0 dark 30. That's probably some kettlebells, a few dumbbells, a slam ball that I think was one of your DIYs, with a basketball and some, I didn't put sand in it. I put the like calcium ice melt.
Nice.
Wasn't nearly as heavy and still gave quite a bit of bulk. It's about 28 pounds. A few bands. That's probably about it.
That's a good setup, man.
Yeah,
that's plenty of stuff. Yeah, that was the golden eagle, I called it. The basketball filled with salt pellets. That was I actually don't know when or where I parted ways with that thing.
Chucked it off a
think
mountain.
What I think happened was I was doing wall ball shots and I caught it in my hands and got a massive amount of salt in my eyes one too many time from the holes in it. And I was just finally done with it. But it's, it's very inexpensive and easy project to do. But yeah, that's awesome. You have a lot of great equipment, and a good setup. And so we kind of got that story, what you were looking to do, but what are you looking to do now? What are some of your goals or things that you're chasing?
So on the exterior, as I said, I'm in the Army Reserve, and the Army has went to the new PT test. It's no longer the push-up, sit-up, 2-mile run, which required zero equipment and really zero preparation. We were laughing about it at a drill a couple of months ago. So, anybody could just kind of do some push-ups and sit-ups a month and a half beforehand and go out and run kind of 2 miles, and you could pass it. We did a diagnostic ACFT in August, and I was kind of blown away. There's a 3 rep deadlift. There's some hand release push-ups, the sprint drag carry, leg tucks, the standing power throw with a medicine ball, and then the 2-mile run. And each of those things individually, I do well, but to kind of compress them all together into an hour and a half, I blew apart on the run. I hadn't trained well enough for it. So that's my goal on the exterior, is to be able to do better on the ACFT. There's the magical 600 that's out there. I don't know that I'll get to that point. I just turned 49 a couple months ago, but who knows? I had started out, years ago. So a little bit about my military background. I had, before I became an officer, I was a senior drill sergeant in a reserve unit. And that was 20 years ago. A lot's changed in 20 years physically. And I look at what I'm able to do now versus then. And fitness is something that gets away from you very easily. And I want to get back to that point where I was 20 years ago. With the new ACFT, I don't know that I'll be able to max it, but that's kind of where I'm at on the exterior. On the interior, I have 15-year-old twin daughters, and they play high school softball. I want to be the dad that can go out and practice with them. We go to a local field a couple of miles away and practice throughout the spring and summer, kind of during their off season. I don't want to be the dad that sits on the sidelines that, is out of breath, or I'm sitting there eating a hot dog and watching my kids play while they're out doing their thing. And I'm not setting a good example for them.
I think that's huge. That's what really keeps you going, that interior, that internal desire just to want to build your humans, so to speak, into better humans, your kids. And I think that's what keeps me going for sure. And I think that's all you can do is put it in front of them over and over again and lead by example. And I think they pick up on it eventually. That's the theory, at least.
Yeah.
Are they interested in the garage gym at all?
Nope. I've offered, I've even offered to go to our local CrossFit affiliate. Like, look, if you want to go over there and do something, you don't want to do it with dad, let's go over there. They're just not interested in it yet, but they have come out before and played around with doing some burpees and some squats and box jumps. But their idea of conditioning for softball is not my idea of conditioning.
Right.
What's the sport?
Well, any struggles you run into being a garage gym athlete?
Weather, and I know I listened to the podcast that you all had done just maybe last week or week before about weather being an issue, and I thought about that, and it really is. My garage is it's not a separate garage, it's attached to the house, but it doesn't have any heating and cooling. It's just passive through the floors and the wall. And I had talked to our local heating and air conditioning contractor about, hey, I already have ductwork in here. Why can I not just drop a couple of vents? And it's a problem with exhaust fumes from a garage making it back into the house. So there's a building code that says that you can't do that. So it doesn't get terribly cold. I mean, I really can't complain. Maybe 58 degrees in the winter is about as cool as it gets in there, which doesn't sound terrible, especially whenever I hear some of the guys and girls talk about, taking their barbell in at night and they're out there and maybe in a parka trying to get warmed up. So I really don't have anything to complain about. Sometimes I'll go out in a pullover similar to what Joe has on. And by the time I've done my warm up, I'm usually peeling it off. Summertime, I have there's 2 ceiling fans and a box fan in the floor. So it's not really, physically, there's not that much of a problem. The big challenge is just consistency, being able to get out there and not make excuses. That's probably the biggest challenge that I have.
Consistency, just in general.
Yes. Yeah, consistency with the gym.
Because your schedule changes a lot.
I'm sorry.
Well, yeah. Let's see. How many things are you juggling right now between a doctorate and reserve and job? And you do have a lot going on, no doubt.
Yeah, and I think, and I've always done that. I've always had 6 different things going on at once. And whenever I finish something, I was talking to one of the nurse practitioners of cardiology, and she's completing her doctorate as well. And I said, so what are you going to do after you finish your doctorate? She goes, I don't know. I haven't made up my mind yet. And I'm the same way. I don't know, what's the next thing? What's the next golden carrot that's going to be dangled out there that I think I'm going to go do that.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Well, you are definitely juggling a lot. So overall, how do you like training in your garage?
Oh, it's the best. And I didn't really have to sell it to my wife. It just made sense. By the time I would leave here and go to a local gym, which wasn't terrible, a 10-15 minute drive, but you had to prepare, you had to go, you had to get in line for equipment, distractions. Hey, how are you? What's going on? Come back, and you've wasted a couple of hours. That's here. And even through the years working out at other gyms, it was the same. There was hey, what's going on? How are you? All of us have seen that. You go to the gym, you see your friend or someone you haven't talked to in a while, or what are you working on today? Here, there's no distractions except for my dogs wanting to be petted. Yeah, so that's I think that's the biggest benefit, is being able to come here, do it on my time when I want to. My music, no music. If I want to listen to a podcast, I mean, it's just it's my space. That's probably the biggest benefit.
Awesome. Well, man, let's get to some of these other questions. I'm interested to hear, what's the hardest workout you've ever done?
So, and then now it's not, and a lot of the guys are, most people will laugh when they hear this, but it was 2 come to mind. One was Murph. The first time I heard of Murph, I was a company commander for a drill sergeant unit, and one of the guys who has a garage gym says, hey, we're going to do this workout. It's like, all we need is a pull-up bar. I was like, okay, great. And when he laid it out, we're going to run a mile, we're going to do this many push-ups, this many pull-ups, this many air squats, I thought, this guy's crazy. Oh, and we're going to run a mile after that. So mentally, that was probably the second hardest workout, just because I'd never heard of it. We'd never trained for it, but now we do it all the time. I did the Murph burner back in the early part of the year. I haven't done it nearly as much as yourself or Chris Morgan and some of these other people in the community. The second thing that comes to mind, and this is probably 20-25 years ago, I had entered into a mountain bike race, and there was a few of us that I worked with at the time that we would get out and do some trails. And I thought, yeah, I'm prepared for this. And I wasn't prepared for it at all. I think I laid in bed for 2 days afterwards. That was, it was in West Virginia on a few mountains, and it was just terrible. All the way around, it was terrible. But I look back at it now and I think, what was I thinking? And I think all of us have probably done that. I mean, didn't you ran a marathon and didn't train for it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did. It was a bad decision. Every time I've done anything without training for it, it was a bad decision.
Yeah. It always sounds like a good idea at that time.
Yeah. And my reasoning was I was never going to train for one to begin with. I was like, you're never going to train for marathon. You just never do it. So just go do it. Just run the marathon.
Yeah.
And, yeah, you pay for it.
Yeah.
It's those events, man.
I'm sure I was in Rhabdo. I mean, I didn't know what Rhabdo was at the time, but looking back, I was in Rhabdo. 100%.
Yeah, like I think I've definitely had, I mean, when people talk about rhabdo, there's the most severe version of it where you actually have to go to an emergency room and, you know, your kidneys are shutting down. But there's much more mild version. I think a lot of us have probably experienced where, you know, we're on the cusp. And I've definitely been there. Well, in your opinion, what's the best activity for building mental toughness?
Just doing the things that you don't want to do, whether it's mow the grass, do the dishes, just do it. Just if you know that you have to do it, don't put it off. Trying to get into that mindset, that's helped me. Just don't put things off. Yeah, it's going to take a couple of minutes. I'm really tired. I need to go lay down and go to bed. But you know, if you know you need to prep for something in the morning, you know, fix the coffee pot the night before. Just trying to prepare. Just doing those things that you know you need to do. But I can put it off till tomorrow. No, just go ahead and do it. Just don't put it off.
It really is that simple. It's just not easy, right?
Yeah. And I, you know, through this whole journey of creating the garage gym and finding End of Three, I think everyone goes through a Jocko Willink period where, you know, you're listening to the podcast and you're getting up at 4:30 and, you know, you just try to do those things and don't make excuses. And there's a lot to be said about Jocko and even Goggins. You know, I think Goggins has a lot of good ideas. I think some of them are kind of extreme, but just doing the tough things, doing it, and don't make excuses.
Love it. Now, if you could only have one piece of equipment to train with for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Stereotypical barbell. You know, just barbell with plates.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
yeah. There's no need to be, you know.
Yeah, there's nothing fancy.
Yeah.
You know, I've thought about, you know, a Bulgarian bag or some sandbags or kettlebells, and I don't know. I just think that the barbell is something you can do a lot with. And if I had to only keep one thing that's out there in the garage now, it would definitely be the barbell. I would keep it for sure.
I think that's the question we should change it to, Joe, is if like we take your current garage gym, if we had to remove everything out, what would you keep in there? Yeah. Like we had to sell everything you have in there, but you get to keep one item or set or whatever, what would it be? I think that's a great way to ask it.
There you go.
It's the same question, just rephrasing it. Because then people are going to say, do I get the plates with the barbell? And that's more than one thing.
But then it doesn't put it into this rest of your life category. I feel like that adds a different element or stipulation to where like, I really need to think about my fitness for the rest of my life. If you're just like taking everything out, what do you keep in?
Or like, hey, somebody's coming to pack up your garage gym. You have to go grab one thing. What are you grabbing first?
Yeah.
It's burning down. You have 5 seconds.
Yeah. House fire. Grabbing. The gym is where you're going to go.
You have one fire extinguisher and only enough to put out one thing in your garage. Yeah. What will it be?
Well, and I don't want to go on too much of a tangent, but Aaron Hind, so we know each other. I've interviewed him and we've been in some business groups together. He's the CEO founder of FitAid, but his house burned down in California a couple years ago. Real tragic, and it was kind of all of a sudden and stuff. And but the coolest thing about it after the fact was he was taking some video of his home, like where it was, because this wasn't like, oh, it kind of burnt down, like it burnt to ashes. And the only thing left standing was a Rogue squat rack. And I was like, you need to send this to Rogue and just like let him see it. It's like the only thing is like still black, you know, and like just like standing there, like what hadn't even like fallen down and I was like, that's awesome, man.
Yeah,
like,
that's great marketing.
Yeah,
for sure.
If you could add something to your gym, what would it be?
It would have to be an assault runner. That's
you're not digging that treadmill you got?
Well, I mean, I bought it around the time that I started with Garage Gym Athlete So I've had it about 3 years, and I didn't spend a lot of money on it because I wasn't for sure, if I'm going to use this thing that much. And I didn't go out and spend $1,200-$1,300 on some, entry level Globo gym quality. It was, I think it's made by Gold's Gym. It was something I picked up at Walmart for maybe $300. I had came back from Captain's Career Course. I had just kind of stumbled on to, like I said, I had stumbled onto the programming, and I said, okay, I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing up until I go to the Captain's Career Course. I pass the PT test, and then I'm going to come back and get really involved with this, because I read the book Garage Gym Athlete on the flight to San Antonio in between layovers and whatnot. So I bought it probably around the same time that I came on board here. I can't remember if that was 17 or 18. So it's I've had to do a lot of maintenance to the belt to keep it going. I'm surprised it's still going. And watch, it'll quit, and then I'll have to talk my wife into, this is why I need an assault runner, or a true form, or some version thereof. If the garage gym genie could grant me that one piece of equipment, that would be it.
That's awesome. It's a good piece. I don't have that. I have the true form, but I mean, they're fun.
I haven't ran on one.
They're just harder. I mean,
yeah.
It's like
Kicks can get used to as well.
Like comparing like an Airdyne to a bike. Like a bike is just easier. It's not as difficult.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're good. Well, let me get to this last question, man. I'm interested to hear, what is your best advice for all the garage gym athletes out there listening?
Just consistency. Be consistent. Do the tough things. Don't put things off. Don't in everything, whether that's in the gym, in the training, make time for the people that are around you. Make time to take that phone call, answer that text message. Just do the things that you may not have an opportunity to do again.
That's great advice, Scott. Well, I'm really glad that you were able to do this interview. Thanks for being around the community as long as you have been, and finally getting on the podcast with us. I want to encourage everyone else out there too. If you've been thinking about it, definitely do it. Get on the podcast, come talk with us. We don't bite, and it's just awesome hearing your stories and your journey. And so I really appreciate it, Scott. I really do. Thanks
for taking the time with me this morning. It's been a good experience, and I would recommend it to anybody else. Just do it. If you thought about it, just do it.
Awesome. Thanks, Scott.
Thanks.
Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. If you want to learn more, go to garagegymathlete.com. You can learn about our training. Let us send you a copy of our book, The Garage Gym Athlete, or you can even get featured on the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Thanks for listening.